Hello everyone and welcome to the Great Gundam Project episode 167. I'm Jackson, I'm joined by M as usual.
Gundam time!
It's Gundam time, and we are joined by a guest, but I guess we can't say that anymore.
No, not a guest.
Not a guest.
Not for this season.
Temporary co-host, Austin Walker.
Third chair. The third chair. I can be a third chair.
Yeah.
Hi. I've just realized something terrible, which is the next part of this podcast. Momentarily, I'm going to have to be here for the entire season.
The entire season?
And,
it's really bad.
Jackson and I are both going to just get owned every week from now on.
That is the gimmick, yes.
Fuck.
I don't know shit about Pokemon. What's the Pokemon?
This is a free episode. We have to be professional. We can't talk about Pokemon.
Sorry.
I'm sorry for cursing.
Sorry.
I'm sorry for... Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Jackson, do the sell.
This is a free episode of the Great Gundam Project, a podcast where me and Em watch Gundam every single week until the end of time. We are just starting Gundam X. We have the first episode of every show free, and Austin is joining us for the season, as it is the rare Gundam that absolutely no one has seen, almost. And there's a couple of you out there, but we're very, very excited to watch it. And the schedule's worked out, and it's going to be good. If you've not listened to us before, then you can check out the other 3 episodes, and you can go to iTunes and find the entire first season covering Mobile Suit Gundam from 1979 for free.
What's the website if they want to watch the first episodes or listen to
that is timetogoax.is.
Where can people find us on Twitter?
Time to go access.
There we go. We did it.
A reference that you will get if you watch all of you listen to the Great Gundam Project and actually watch UC Gundam.
Yeah.
It's a real deep one. Don't worry about it. If you're just starting out, just don't worry about it. That's that's some pretty. We made a ridiculous in-joke for our name.
It's not even an in-joke. It's just a powerful
reference.
moment of Gundam.
It is. Yeah.
Yes. I was trying to downplay that because they hadn't seen it.
Okay. Well, we have another in-joke around here, which is me owning anyone who's on this cast with asking them what Pokemon the episode number is. What is
I
episode?
feel like I should give the context that this did start in Gen 1 when there was a reasonable sense that someone could know the Pokemon numbers.
Look, there are people who are adults that are born after Gen 2. It's fine. They should know the numbers. You should know the numbers.
It's hard to know the number when it doesn't start at 1. You know what I mean?
I know. I barely am asking anyone to guess at this point. Anyone even want to hazard a guess at what kind of Pokemon we're going to get? Last time we had Ledian, if you don't remember.
Did we have the flying?
Yeah, no, yeah, Noctowl and Hoot.
Yeah, we had the flying.
The owl, right?
We had the bug.
Now we had not the bug, yeah.
So, is it another bug?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Pokemon doesn't change shit.
No guesses about what the name is?
No.
Pokemon 167 is Spinarak. Let me put this in the chat. There you go. That's a Spinarak.
Oh, yeah, cute.
Yeah.
This one's cute, yeah.
Yeah.
Some sort of spider Pokemon?
Yeah, it's just a spider with a cute face on the back.
Yeah.
Well,
I like this one. This is good. I like the face on the back. I like that the face on the back is frowning.
Yep.
Yeah, the good Pokemon.
Next week's going to be a softball, then it gets real weird. So I'm excited for that.
Bigger spider.
Yes.
It's bigger spider next week for sure,
next
right?
week. Bigger spider.
Writing spider, bigger spider on the whiteboard.
Bigger
at the
than
Pokemon
before.
Company. Bigger than before.
Yeah. If this was a late gen Pokemon, it would be that the face was the thing that connected the evolved form and not the fact that it was a spider. And it would be like some other type of insect entirely, but the face would be really prominent. You know what I mean? That's what they do in Gen 7.
I was gonna argue, but that the little Charge-a-Bug does turn into a Gundam, so
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, has anyone watched any anime this week?
I started, and I'm probably not going to keep watching Akudama Drive, a kind of cyberpunk crime anime from this season, or this year. I guess it's still in this season. It's fine. It's incredibly stylish. I really love the use of color on the show. I think that it's visually really, really stunning at parts. The basic pitch is that it's that sort of anime sci-fi dystopia stuff where there's a crime system with different tiers of criminals who have different, official names in terms of whether or not, you are a just like a small time criminal or like a super felon. They don't use super felon. They're called akudama. But what ends up happening is one of them, who is like the worst of them, named Cutthroat, is due to be executed in the basement of the police station in 12 hours. And then like the super good driver who has a sick bike, the brawler who fights hundreds of police drones at once, the hacker who is a really good hacker, the doctor who is like super sexy murderous doctor who's willing to kill people to save people's lives, and then just like a rando guy get caught up in trying to rescue Cutthroat before he is killed. And also who gets caught up in that is just an ordinary girl who gets like basically arrested because she doesn't try to dine and dash, but the cops think she's trying to dine and dash, and so she's like nearby at the time. And in order to convince the super killers, in order to convince the super predators that they can't kill her, they shouldn't kill her, that she's part of this, actually, she tells them that she's a swindler, a new type of super criminal, and like is basically caught along for the ride at this point. And then by the end of the first episode, everyone has explosive collars around their necks, which means like it's starting to lean into like 999 mystery territory where no one knows who sent this initial mission out. It wasn't the person who gets saved, Cutthroat, who was like trying to save himself. It was someone from the outside, and who could want that? What's up with these weird challenges they're getting, etc. And it's like fine, but it's just so tonally at 11 that it was a little much for me to keep up with. Not keep up with like in terms of plot, but keep up with emotionally. I'm just not that invested. You have to slow down a little bit. But it's really pretty, and that's not nothing.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah. That sounds very generic, but mostly cool.
Yes, totally. Also, wait, I skipped an important thing. The first episode name is Seven, with a 7 instead of a V. The second episode title is Reservoir Dogs.
Oh!
The third episode title is Mission Impossible. And so on. So it's like that.
The leap from 7 to Reservoir Dogs to Mission Impossible is really funny to me.
Yeah, fourth is Speed. So we're really going for it.
That's a lot.
It's a lot.
Em, what did you watch? I haven't watched anything. Again, classic.
So people have been talking about Demon Slayer and its like intense popularity. The last Tenkabon came out or whatever, and there was like lines on the block. It was the rumors about 80s Dragon Quest are here again once more. And everyone's like, why is this so popular? And I'm like, I don't actually know anything about this. So I decided to watch the anime. I watched episode 1 last night, and this morning I got up and ended up watching 5 more episodes. So who knows? Maybe next week I'll be done.
Hey.
But Demon Slayer, if you don't know, is an anime from last year. There's an adaptation of the manga by Koyoharu Gotoge. It is about like this young man who like he just lives up on a mountain with his family, and he goes to town to sell charcoal, and he comes back and his entire family's been murdered, except for his sister, because they were all attacked by a demon, and because she survived but was like had demon blood on her, she transformed into a demon. And he's like, I'm supposed to kill her, but I think I can reach her and save her. And so he tries to keep her alive. And in doing so, draws the attention of a guy who's like a demon slayer, who's part of these cops who go around Japan killing demons. They're just like a secret squad of demon hunters. And he's like, all right, I'm going to train you, and maybe someday you'll find the way to save her. There's not a lot of consternation about, no, we actually have to kill her, thankfully, because that's like the most boring version of this plot.
Yeah.
Everyone's like, no, we'll just, you're protecting her. We'll look after her. She's clearly not attacking humans, and she's not, so she's not a problem. And so the first 6 episodes are like kind of establishing the stakes as he starts training to be a demon slayer. He makes it. There's one episode that's just like a training montage. It takes place over 2 years, which is the sickest thing in the world to me when you do that. And now he's cool, and he's got a sword, and then he becomes a demon slayer. The first thing is like they send him on a mission to go to this random town and do Witcher shit. Like, young women are disappearing. Please
Hell
go
yeah.
investigate and find out what's going on and stop it. And he's like, okay,
Touches the ground.
Yeah.
Like, let's go.
I guess I'm gonna take my sister, put her in my little backpack because she can change her size with her demon powers. So he just kind of stores her in his backpack because to keep her safe.
Okay.
Yeah. And by that I mean it's like a giant like wooden chest, like it's like a big tea chest, but she's in there because she can't look at sunlight or she'll die, and the reason she's like safe is because she sleeps most of the time instead of eating people to like reserve her powers.
Same.
And so he just kind of hauls her around Japan as he's doing like this, supernatural cop shit, which is incredible. That's my favorite subgenre of anything is when people go around doing supernatural cop shit. Like I like Hellboy, I like Witch Hunter Robin, I like Constantine, all this stuff.
That's good stuff. Yeah. IMO. I need more of it.
Yeah. And then the anime is just like the most expensive thing on earth. It just looks incredible all the time. Anime's really figured out CG in a way that we haven't gotten to in any of the shows we watched, and it's really impressive to see.
Yeah. Sick.
Yeah.
You're going to sell me on this show. You're going to make me go watch the show.
I mean, it's like...
I watched the first episode last year, and I was like, wow, this is really pretty. Do I have time for this right now? No. But I'm looking at it.
Nothing about
it
it seems
good.
Exceptional, but it's like solid. Like I just watched 6 episodes and it just like was very easy to do.
Do you think that the early response from people who even the early season was like a little, do you think that you would have come to this quicker if there had been a more muted response to begin with?
I mean, I don't think it would have hit my radar. Yeah.
Right. Fair.
Like every time I browse, like I get emails for like, oh, here's like figures that are coming out. It's always like 8,000 figures from this show. And then I'm like, is there anything from anything I ever watched? No, absolutely not. Oh, here's a Pat Labor action figure. It costs $300. Never mind.
God.
You're going to turn into one of those people quoting it on the, like, what are the 4 best shonen of the age of all time, whatever.
I mean, it's probably like, it's weird, right? Because there's not going to be any more. There's like the movie after this, but the show's only 26, and I don't think they've announced like a second season, as far as I could tell when I was doing my research. And there's way more manga than there is anime. Because like the manga ended, it's 23 volumes, and then the movie only goes up through like chapter like 60 something, which is like what, like 6-7 volumes. So
there's like 22 volumes at this point, right?
No, there's 23. I said that.
23. Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
Sorry. Well.
And then like so in theory they could make like 6 seasons of this thing, but who knows?
I bet they will. The first one was so successful, right?
Yeah.
So
it was,
but also
like,
the manga's over, so maybe not, right? But the manga's really high selling, so who knows?
Yeah, like they could make more, but there's nothing to like promote. You make the anime while they're selling the manga.
Yeah,
and now they've done that very well. So, I would not be surprised if it just got like more movies.
Yeah, I mean, it outsold One Piece this year. That hasn't happened since like 2007, I think it was.
Jesus.
Was it Naruto then? What did it in 2007?
No, it was. I don't remember what it was. We were looking. People were talking about it earlier this week, and I don't remember what it was now. It was not Naruto. It was like something. It was like not a thing you would have predicted, probably, if I remember correctly.
Nice. Well, that's a quick checking of shows. Let's get on to Gundam. This season, we are covering new Mobile Century Gundam X, the Gundam show that aired from 1996 to, I think, into 97. It got cancelled.
No, it ended December 28th, 1996.
I didn't know if it made it. made it. Yeah,
the 1 year war is over.
Yep. And this is the show they made directly after Wing. I think it's the same director as Wing. You've got the credits.
Yeah, this is directed, of course, by Shinji Takamatsu, who directed the back half of Wing, and he's been working on this stuff, like, he's been working on Gundam since, like, SD Gundam, so I think he was actually in credits in like, Zeta and Double Zeta, so, written by Hiroyuki Kawasaki, music by Yasuo Higuchi, we've got, mech designs by Kunio Okawara, maybe you've heard of him.
The mechs are pretty good this season, so
I'm digging them.
Yeah, but we didn't like the Wing mechs, and those are all him too. So what are you gonna do?
Yeah.
And then character designer by Nobuyoshi Nishimura, which is distinctive only because he went on to do the character designs of Zone of the Enders, and the leads of the show just look like Zone of the Enders kids in the first game.
The eyes are so big.
Yeah. This season, we have another friend pitching in to do summaries for us, which is very good. My friend Olivia Joseph has offered to write summaries because they wanted to be on some of these episodes, and I was like, sorry, you can't, because they really like Gundam X. And they're like, well, what if I wrote summaries? And I was like, yeah, sure.
Well, now I feel bad. I'm sorry, Olivia.
No, it's totally fine. They're going to make out just fine. If you want to find them, they're on Twitter at Great Grebe. They have a podcast called We Are the Champions, which is like GGP, but about League of Legends lore for characters, which is maybe the hardest, most thankless job in the world. Miserable.
Yeah, Jesus
but the
Christ.
podcast is really funny, and you should listen to it. It is critical, but goofy. So,
yeah. Well, with that, we can begin with episode 1. Is the moon out?
Yeah. I don't know if you want me to just read these or if you want to interrupt. Austin, feel free to do whichever. Just talk over me and I'll stop.
Okay.
We open in the introduction to the universe as a single space colony's independence movement grew into an all-out war between the Space Revolutionary Army and the United Nations Earth.
I will be interrupting. That's sick.
After 8 months of fighting, the SRA sought to pressure the UNE into surrender by dropping weaponized space colonies on the Earth. Maybe you've heard of this. In response, the UNE deployed its elite mobile suits, the Gundams. In the resulting fighting, the two sides destroyed each other, and the colonies were dropped on Earth, killing most of the 10 billion humans who live there and destroying the planet's environment. We get Gundam. Yeah, we get the entirety of first.
This intro is First Gundam, except with more Gundams. A thing that I like that as a small note is sometimes you get Gundams with the Gundam head, but you also get these other models in the background that just have kind of rounded robot faces.
Yeah.
Where it's like, well, this is clearly not the commander. The commander gets the fins, you know?
Yeah.
There are some differences between, one, the fact that this ends with last shooting, that this intro ends with last shooting rules.
Against a fake Zeong.
Against a fake Zeong. Two, the fact that there's a pretty big difference, I'd say, between this and UC, which is they kill 10 billion people, right? This is the thing that we've talked about with the Zex stuff, and actually I shouldn't say this. Can we cut this out? Because I don't want to spoil Gundam Wing. I guess it's okay, right? No, it's the first episode. I don't want to spoil Gundam Wing in this.
We have to talk about this stuff, right?
Yeah, this is too explicitly talking about Gundam stuff to not mention it.
This is the world where like all of UC Gundam happened at once in the 1 Year War, right? Like
speed run.
Yeah.
It is. Well, and the 10 billion number is part of the thing that we talked about last season with Zex's plan being really stupid and not being equivalent to the asteroid drops in UC, the Axis drop in UC or the previous colony drops, because in UC most people live on colonies. And I do think that that's like conceptually different here. But it happens so quick and it's so clear that they're just trying to symbolically be like, what if Axis fell? What if we actually got that world? That I'm kind of okay with hand waving it and jumping to, happily jumping into that AU,
Mm-hmm. Well, the whole thing is like, the thing that we asked for during our Char's Counterattack episode and have always been asked for is like, at least like grapple with the idea of what comes after. Like anime is so good at like asking the question and then backing back to the status quo. This just jumps in. This is like, no, this happened and now we have to see what the fallout is. It's like the most interesting space that if I got to fill out an audience survey card at the end of Char's Counterattack, I'd be like, please let me see the future where the thing happens.
Yeah, totally.
But also in this universe, there's like an army of Gundams and they all have death lasers.
Yeah. Super death lasers.
Yeah, like they just have the colony laser, but it's on a backpack.
And they shoot them at the colonies.
Yeah.
So...
anyway, 15 years later, the Earth's devastated ecosystem has begun to stabilize. Happened real quick. But much of the planet's desert, impact craters can be seen from space. Literally, the continents are Swiss cheese. In a desert town built around the ruins of a crashed spaceship, 2 former Federation pilots draw a crowd claiming to be new types, an evolved form of human that were super soldiers in the war. They claim to be the Red Bi-Star specifically, a riff on the Black Tri-Stars.
Gang, let's go.
Yeah. They are not believed, and as an attack happens, they are killed by a Mad Max-looking guy piloting an old Genis mobile suit, come to rob the town. Just like, everyone in mobile suits is now just like an outlaw.
Yeah, there's like big early Trigun vibes here.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
I'm here for it.
The Genis is seemingly unstoppable compared to the town's defenses until a teenage boy runs out from cover, confronts the mobile suit on foot. He disables the main view screen with a flash bomb, grapples up to the cockpit, and holds the pilot at gunpoint with a smile, throwing the would-be bandit to the angry townsfolk. This is our protagonist, Garrett Ron. He flashes a peace sign and declares his intention to sell the Genis for profit.
Love and peace.
Love and peace.
I want to really just briefly shout out the grandma who shoots a rocket at the Genis during this sequence.
Yes.
After, or I guess it's like anti-armor gun, because one of her grandkids, I'm guessing grandkids, tries to hand her a shell, like a new round, and she's like, "Not that one," and it's extremely funny.
Yes. His exploits earn him the attention of a mysterious older man named Rike Anto, who asks Garrett for tea and a business proposal. Rike asks why Garrett would sell the Genis rather than pilot himself, and Garrett responds that owning such a prime piece of pre-war salvage would just put a target on his back. Why not make money selling it? Rike offers Garrett another payday to rescue a girl named Tifa Adil from a group of vultures, professional salvagers who deal in pre-war technology. The narrator helpfully explains what a vulture is to us, if we didn't know, and we see the vulture ship Frieden, and the bridge crew wonders why their captain's gone to such lengths for one young girl. In her room, a sleeping Tifa is awoken by a dream of a Gundam ominously reaching for her with its hand. Sitting up in bed, she silently watches the moon out of the window. The Frieden stops by a lake to take on fresh water, and Garrett sneaks aboard. On his way through the ship, he breaks into the captain's quarters looking for valuables, only to find a mobile suit control unit in the safe, which he takes anyway. Garrett finds Tifa and declares his intention to rescue her. He then gets flustered as Tifa silently stares at him, recalling her vision of the Gundam. She then declares that she's been waiting for him and willingly leaves the ship. Their escape is quickly detected by the vultures, but an attack of old UNE Daughters mobile suits distracts the vultures long enough for Garrett to drive away. Garrett meets with Rike and prepares to finish the job, but Tifa suddenly screams at the sight of Rike. Worried by Tifa's distress, Garrett abandons the job and drives Tifa away, and he calls the main office to send a bunch of Daughters units after them. As Garrett drives, Tifa directs him towards a very important power and seems to demonstrate some ability to predict where their pursuers will fire.
What could this mean?
Yeah, Garrett's driving, evades the Daughtresses, and Tifa shows them an abandoned UNE mobile suit factory. Weapons explosion opens a hole in the factory wall and blows them into a room with an intact Gundam, the GX9900. With no other choice, Garrett carries an unconscious Tifa into the Gundam, cannot find a way to activate it. He remembers the control unit he stole from the Frieden and decides to plug it in, declaring that if this works, he's going to believe in God. The Gundam begins to power up, and Garrett joyously informs a waking up Tifa that he's found religion.
It's good. It's a good bit.
The Gundam X stands up, unscratched by direct fire, and punches the head off a Daughters unit. The remaining units retreat outside, where they attempt to collapse part of the factory on the X, but it bursts out of the rubble unaffected and defeats them with its beam saber. Before he can celebrate his victory, Garrett is confronted by two new Gundam types, and the pursuing Frieden come to rescue Tifa. Upon seeing the Gundam X on the monitors, the Vulture captain bolts out of his seat and demands to know if the moon is out. As the three Gundams prepare for combat, the camera pans upwards to the full moon, silently perched in the night sky.
Yeah.
I will note that in Plex, the name of this episode is there a moon? Which is a different question.
So this is famously a show that is unseen in the West because the official DVDs didn't come out until 2016. It was not popular even in Japan. This show got canceled. We'll get to that when we get to where it's canceled. I think that's exciting because one of the reasons First Gundam is good because it ended early and they had to cram so much stuff at the back end where the show gets really cool.
True.
But because of that, for a long time there was just fan subs. Now there's official Blu-ray releases. I think most people watching this could probably get a hold of official releases one way or another. I have Blu-rays that I put in,
Mm-hmm.
How people find anime is up to them. You have your personal freedom. But the way in which the show opens as it evokes Double Zeta to me in terms of its comedy, but the framework is dropped out of the Tomono stuff, and it's just it's like a late 90s anime, right? It reads like Trigun, like you said.
Yeah.
And just having Gundam show up in what is otherwise kind of a goofy post-apocalyptic Western anime is very funny to me. I think it's a good look.
Yeah, I'm definitely here for it. I'm very curious to see how it develops and like how often we go to that stuff versus some other form. You know, without getting ahead of ourselves too much. I don't think the next episode. I mean, the next episode has some stuff that touches on that stuff, but like, I'm curious how many like old sleepy towns we're going to roll into that have problems. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know. I assume not very many, but we'll see.
I will say it's all worth it just for the kind of salsa infused battle music that plays once Gary gets into the Gundam in this episode.
Yes.
There's a track called "Eye Catch," which you would think.
That's going to make it real confusing trying to find the things to edit this.
It sure is. But there is a track called "Eye Catch" that has that salsa infused battle theme, and it rules. It's so good.
The other thing I like is we immediately are introduced to like a white base, but it's now a giant truck.
Yeah.
Which is exciting to me. Just the like ramshackle nature of the things that look like Gundam, but have now become like smaller and more run down because the world's ended. And like this show definitely backs away from the implications of like a nuclear winter that lasts centuries, right? Which was always the end point of Gundam Space Wars. It's 15 years later, and you know the Earth is in a bad shape, but there's like people and animals and stuff.
Yeah.
But I do like that we get, you know, big trucks and ramshackle towns, but there are still Gundams of the old world.
It's very cool.
Yeah.
This is a pretty good first episode. I'm surprised how much I like Garrett. This is a character archetype I usually don't like, but I do in Gundam.
Yeah. When I think of like Uso or Duo, like
right.
Like when Gundam, because you know the format of Gundam, right? Like it's going to be a boy put through the pressure cooker of a war. When you get the happy-go-lucky like adventure boy, you know it's going to go badly for him. He's not like, the problem with this character in a lot of anime is that he is centered as like the right one, right? Like he's just going to get everything he wants and he's going to like save the day every time, and you know that's not going to be what happens to him in this.
Right, like it's different to when I played Final Fantasy IX and couldn't stand Zidane.
Yes.
Who is also this guy, but like that. You know, that game's about how cool and fun Zidane is. Don't you want to hang out with Zidane? And I'm like, no, I don't. He's annoying.
Yeah. Captain Quattro Bagina is not going to press Zidane into the space war.
Exactly.
If only. He also has big judo vibes to me.
Yes.
Especially because, I mean, yeah, I think that you can very easily map Uso and Shakti to Garrett and Tifa. But I do think that there is like, he's a junk dealer. He's good at like, you know, kind of being invested in his own interest and his own bottom line. But I think that he's like a nice blend of those three character types: the judo, the Uso, and the duo for sure. The holy trinity.
The thing he doesn't have that like defined judo is like a sense of community, right? Because judo was like this guy, but he was selling parts for his guys. Like we all grew up in this impoverished colony, and we're gonna look out for each other. Garen's just like a wanderer. So I'm curious to see how that'll end up going for him.
Yeah. I do really like the new format for the ending and the next time on, in which the next time on plays over the ending and ends on the line that is the title of the next episode, which is taken from dialogue of that episode. It's really just a power move, I feel like. It's
pretty cool.
It's very good.
The song, however, I'm split on it because I like Magic, which is the Stardust Memory slow jam, and this definitely has Magic vibes, but it is really cheesy.
It's really cheesy. I don't know.
It's too far for me. It's like a weird, bad 90s movie theme.
The thing is, you can't tell in episode 1 how a song's going to hit you in episode 30, right? Like, I've just refused to put my foot down on how I feel about it, because I've been wrong so many times about songs.
Yeah.
Well, do we have anything more for episode 1? Do we want to move on to episode 2?
No, we can move on to episode 2.
Let's move.
All right. Episode 2 of New Mobile Century Gundam X is called I Will Give You Power.
Yeah. With a 2-on-1 advantage, the Volter Gundams attack Garad and the X. Olivia helpfully had the names of these guys, because I don't think they say them in the episode. There's the hot-headed Witz, W-I-T-Z, Witz, charges forward while ordering the more cavalier Roabea to support him. Garrett struggles against the more experienced pilots and tries to bluff that the X has some sort of secret weapon. The bluff shocks the Vulture captain, but Roabea and Witz just keep shooting. The captain calms down and asks First Officer Sarah to open comms, reminding the pilots not to damage the X's cockpit.
This is funny because it obviously does have a super secret weapon. We saw it at the start of the show.
They don't know that, though.
The captain does, right?
Yes.
Because he's the one who's like, is the moon out? Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Let's be careful, please.
Yeah. Fake Quattro Vagina.
Yes. I can't tell who he is, and we'll talk at the end of this.
Yeah. A desperate Garrett realizes that Frieden must want to recover Tifa and uses her as a hostage by holding her in the Gundam's hand, buying time for him to flee the battlefield. I like this because she acquiesces to it, so she just looks extremely bored being used as a hostage. Tifa has like this very like she's like the kind of magical like little sister character, right? And so she has like this very bored kind of like placid expression the entire time, but it does underscore everyone else being histrionic and make it really funny to me. Anyway, Witz turns his Gundam into a plane, flies after them, but the Frieden orders him not to pursue. Garrett apologizes for using Tifa as a hostage, but she shrugs it off, saying that she trusts him. Robea and Witz return to the Frieden, and as their Gundams are being refueled and repaired, they talk about their current mission. They wonder why Jamil Nite, probably Niete, the captain with a strong reputation among the Vultures, is going to such lengths for one girl, even hiring freelancers like them to help attack Alternative Company a few weeks ago. They contemplate the possibility of finding out Jamil's motives and selling the information within earshot of Sarah, who is incensed. They're having like this very serious discussion, pans over to two of the most 90s anime ladies in the entire world, who then just berate these guys. They're great. I love it. I love a crew. It's been so long since we've had like a spaceship crew.
Yeah.
Because you think about like you know, Apolly and Job John and all of the like classics of Gundam.
Job John crew, Job John gang. This post made by Job John gang.
Yeah. Keithron. Remember Keithron?
I do remember Keithron.
Jobea attempts to defuse the situation by flirting with Sarah and saying that the Frieden crew at least have the right to know Jamil's motives. Meanwhile, an information broker who is observing the battle begins to sell the information about the Gundam X, a previously unknown Gundam-type mobile unit. The information's a hot commodity, as every single limb from the Gundam would be worth a fortune. And by that I mean he goes to like a Streets of Rage lady and shows her a Polaroid.
It rules. She rules. She's the best.
Yes, it's incredible.
Teal hair, big gold hoop earrings, purple like tank top with Mad Max armor on top.
Yes,
just choice.
Yes, it's incredible. It's like, what if Titania from later Vodom stuff showed up in like battle armor?
God, it really is.
In the forest, Garad and Tifa are eating canned food by a campfire. Tifa insists Garad have her leftovers and smiles warmly at him. Garad asks Tifa about her past and why she's being pursued by both the Vultures and Enrique, but Tifa refuses to answer, asking Garad about his past instead. He mentions he was born after his father, a military engineer, died in the war. Garrett describes the constant winter and frequent deaths of his neighbors that characterize his childhood. He wanted to become an engineer like his father, but his town was destroyed by roving mobile suit pilots. Tifa then takes his hand and declares that Garrett is alone just like her, which flusters Garrett. Doesn't know how to deal with these emotions. And then she like tackles him, and there's like a brief moment where he's confused, and then they get fired upon. New types. They're here.
New types.
The campsite swarmed by Vulture pilots looking for the prize, the Gundam X. Despite being outnumbered, the Vultures are not a united force and start turning on each other as Garrett disables their suits. The battle becomes a melee as some of the Vultures take the opportunity to backstab and steal each other's parts. The information broker and his team watch the fight through binoculars, feeling superior to the Vultures they set on Garrett. Vulture ships begin to arrive and shell the battlefield. The Frieden, trailing behind them, sends Robea and Witz to break up the fight. Garrett's starting to be overwhelmed by the battle, but yells his resolve to survive and protect Tifa, and then Tifa declares that she's going to give Garrett power. Closing her eyes, she seems to communicate far away up into the sky to the moon. Among the wreckage of like dozens of mobile suits that are busted is a computer facility that is still active, but empty, and turns on the UNE's satellite system. On the Frieden, Jamil senses her efforts and tries to psychically communicate with Tifa, but then there's interference and like he's holding his head and his ears start to bleed. It's a lot. The facility on the moon sends a laser beam to the Gundam X, activating its shoulder-mounted satellite cannon. Jamil yells for Garrett not to shoot, but the X fires a gigantic beam of light that incinerates the mobile suits, ships, the people, everyone other than the Frieden Vultures who pulled back are destroyed. The Frieden crew are shocked by the power as Jamil declares the site a nightmare from 15 years ago. Or do you want me to just...
Yeah,
let me just finish. The sun rises on the ruins of the battlefield. A huge circle of forest is flattened by the power of the cannon. Gerard starts to say something about surviving, but before he can finish, Tifa grabs her head and starts screaming. We hear the screams as the camera pulls out of the Gundam's cockpit to the morning sun shimmering as the Gundam stands tall. Cut to the cheesy R&B music.
I don't know about you, but I think this might be the Devil's Machine.
I think this might be this is the burning light of hate.
This is it.
UC speedrun, let's go.
There's like a great echo like of the blast that just stays in the sound mix for like a minute after the gun shoots, and it rules.
The thing I like about this is we can... there's so much of Gundam Wing that is about like Hero with his big like colony eraser gun and how little that actually matters past the first time he uses it.
Yeah.
This is the the Victory Gundam burning pile of bodies.
It's not quite that level, but yeah.
No, but it's like it's like a horrifying weapon of war, and the show treats it like that. Like.
And it has a restriction on it, which is the moon has to be out. I don't know if the moon has to be full, but the moon has to be out at least. And that immediately is fun because there's just a strong limit on when it can be used, and that means every time the moon is out in the show, there is a risk that we're going to see the trigger get pulled, and I like that a lot.
Yeah.
And that means like at like episode 30, he's going to do it when the moon's not out, and everyone's going to be like, fuck, shit! The boys become too psychic!
Yeah. Some other small things that I wanted to shout out here. I think it's interesting that Garrett was born in the year the war ended.
Yes.
I think it's like, not to call a shot a little bit, but like, Gundam is often at a certain point. One of the ways that new types get used or talked about is whether they can usher us into an age in which we can speak to each other and in which conflict is resolved without destruction of Earth and each other. And I think the fact that he comes from this post-war era is one of the ways in which they're going to thematically, my suspicion is they're going to thematically tie it to that, right? He wasn't alive for those old conflicts. He doesn't know those old conflicts. This is a new world. He got stuck with the results of those old conflicts. He didn't get to know the world before the 10 billion people died and everything turned into Swiss cheese. And so his perspective on it is like classic, the kids are the future Gundam, Mm-hmm. I like the suits a lot. That's the other thing I have here is I love the Leopard Gundam, the one with the big one-armed super cannon, like the Gatling cannon on one arm, and then like the weird asymmetrical shoulder unit. Like I don't even know what that is on the other. And I really like the Genis. The Genis is cool. The Streets of Rage lady, whose name I don't know because I don't know that it was ever said.
Yeah, it's never said.
Her shit with the giant like horns is incredible. And I did look up the name of that suit. The name of that suit is the Genis Kai / Buffalo.
Amazing. I love it because it evokes a Zaku, but with still being like a really custom unit. Like it feels like a unique mobile suit.
I really like the way the mono eyes are in this show. Like they're often behind gates. On really strange designs. Which just makes the Gundam stand out even more. A good sense of like designs on the robots.
Yep.
Totally.
The other thing I really like about this was in episode 1 too, but there's like Garrett and Tifa's relationship is like very quintessential for this type of anime, but I feel like there's like an earnestness to like get through the early parts of these sort of stories really fast. Like he doesn't leave her with the bad guys and go off to like think about it and feel bad and come back and rescue her. Like the minute he sees that she's upset with Rike, he pulls out. He just leaves.
Yeah.
He's like, we're just going to go. You have a bad feeling. I'm not going to give you away to guys you feel bad about. And then like literally they have the scene where she like touches his hand and he feels weird about it. And they're like, oh, after all this, what if we maybe got together or something? Who could say? It's good. It's probably not going to go well for them because it never does. But, a core like two characters who care about each other is what makes these shows work.
Mm-hmm. It really does feel like someone sat in a room and was like, wait, what went wrong for Wing? And obviously the people who are making Wing aren't going to say the politics because they're not us, right? But what they will say is we need a white base, we need a crew, and we need a central obvious conflict that can like generate plots and not just a sprawl of stuff happening across all of the Earth and we have no idea what's going on. And so it's very clear to me that they've like immediately designed the show with a like core focus, core relationship. It's honestly a kind of similar relationship to Hiro and Relena, at least in like, it's like this core romance. But Hiro and Relena were on screen in about 5 episodes together, and someone was like, maybe we should make the central relationship have actual development.
I was gonna say, like, the thing that it makes me think of is like, what if like Gundam was about like a teenage Char and Lala who got wrapped up in the war, right? Like, because like Garad's not like an Amuro style boy, but he is like a Char but younger, right? Like he's adventurous, he's charismatic, he's getting shit done. He sneaks onto that ship single-handedly and succeeds in his mission, right?
He does do that. It's true.
It's not hard. He walks into a room.
Yeah, but the way in which like Uso and Shakti also echo Char and Lala, and I think like the line between that stuff is like really clear. People should really watch Victory Gundam, is what I'm saying.
People should watch Victory Gundam. Agreed. The thing that makes him not like an Uso to me, or not as much like an Uso, is like, maybe I'm wrong, but like right now, it's hard for me to see him falling for a Katajina and like becoming obsessed with this image of an older, mature woman who you know has the world about her. Yeah. Because he has the world about him. He's already a traveler who I think sees through people's shit a little bit better. But we'll see.
I mean, Kota Uso is that he was the youngest. He's the youngest Gundam pilot that we've seen. Like he was like 13. He's a kid. Whereas Garrett is just teenage. Like he's just the protagonist.
He's 15,
age.
right? Yeah.
I assume he's 15, but because he was born the year the war ended. It's been 15 years.
Yeah, I assume that like the way that manifests in Uso is so like huge brain. Tomino, like, he's the youngest one, and that means we're gonna have like weird stuff with his like crushes. And I'm like, Tomino, all right, you're Please on one. So I don't think there's even gonna be anything in like the circle of Katajina in this show. It's gonna be far more standard plots.
Well, this is the thing that it's like leaving me at is like you're right. It's not going to have that stuff. I'm so torn because I can feel that this is going to be. My gut is that this is going to be a more consistent show than Wing ever was. But also, my guess is I'm not going to ever. I don't come up with these episodes feeling as high as I did coming off of the first 2 Wing episodes, where there were too many moving pieces and they wanted to keep them moving indefinitely. You're totally right, and that made the show really bad by the end. But there was so much possibility, and there were so many interesting moving pieces. There were so many, like, remembering the fact that like there are 5 Gundam pilots and they're each connected to a colony, and like there was such an incredible sell in that first like 10 episodes of like what is this show going to be, and this seems like a much more restrained, straightforward, like to the point, not fill in the blank, because I think that that's a little more insulting than I mean, but like I know what this format is. I'm more confident they can hit this format, or this kind of like structure. But I'm not as excited about that structure because I suspect that it won't ever do anything, as surprising, as Wing did at its best moments. But also, I'll probably end up liking it more than Wing. So
I would say the cold open of this suggests maybe they're willing to go for stuff in a way.
I hope so.
I hope bigger than that. But I guess it kind of depends on like what's going on with Jamil. Like, is he the Quattro character?
Right. Yeah. I have my note here. Is how do we? Do we think that Jamil is our Amuro or our Char? And I don't know.
You know what? I bet he's the Amuro.
He was definitely a Gundam pilot.
He literally had the keys to a Gundam in his safe.
Right. That's his Gundam.
That's his Gundam. Right. Of course. Of course.
And now he's roaming around trying to collect new types. This new type came from the moon. I do like the idea of like the central like Gundam protagonist kids being on a ship with like just populated by adults mostly, which is a thing we really haven't seen since like Zeta Gundam, right? Like. And that's a show about how poorly adults thrown through history of war can like mistreat children. And I would like at least to see the vision of like, maybe Jamil actually cares about raising these kids right and letting them not go off and be broken children like Camille is, right?
Yeah.
I really like the way that we don't get like the status quo of the show just yet. I assume that Garen's going to end up on this ship at some point.
Yeah.
But I like the way that at least now he is framed as like between all these different forces he doesn't understand, so he's like gonna give Tifa back to this guy. Like, wait, this guy's shady, and he's running away from the freedom because it's all like everyone there's shady and trying to kill him, and he's like, what's happening? And the ultimate conclusion of these two episodes is there's no escape from this. Eventually, he's going to have to like choose a side to like fight with, and it's all going to suck. There is no like just chilling with your girlfriend in war, right? And I like the framing of that because, like I say, it hasn't really been that way since Zeta. In that, the way that Uso and Judo like get into the war is so different.
Yeah.
And
Totally.
So I'm excited for what they do with that. I think there is a bit, like possibility space here, but it requires a faith in them like being really bold about the like nuances of Gundam stuff in a way that I don't necessarily trust they'll do, but it is more exciting to me than Wing if they do manage it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, totally makes sense. I'm excited. Like I not to like walk back what I just said before, but like you're both entirely right that the core premise is more exciting than or more courageous in some ways than what we've seen from post UC, post Tomino shows.
Also, just getting a Gundam show that's like normal and like consistently good is honestly a minor miracle to me.
2020 has been so long and so hard. If we can get just like, what is this, the 39 episode? We can get, 16 weeks or 18 weeks of just good show. That'd be great.
When did we start, G?
Oh, my God.
It's been so long. Do we have anything else? So should we get into our backup show?
No, we should get into our backup show. If you're not going to listen to back shows, some people don't, because they're only watching Gundam. We do backup shows every season, and this time it is Ghost in the Shell Standalone Complex Second Gig. We covered Standalone Complex Season 1 during, what was that, Jackson? Do you remember when we did that?
That was
at the end of G
Gundam, I think. Yeah, because it was
the second half of G, because we did Pat Labor and then we did Standalone Complex. So if you would like to listen to those episodes, we're going to talk as if you've seen the first season of Standalone Complex. It's impossible not to. Yeah. And if you're signing off right now, we do this every week. You can get all of the episodes every week at our Patreon, patreon.com/neural-mapping. For $1 a month, you get these episodes every week. Yeah, I think it's a pretty good deal.
Incredible steal. Yeah.
So yeah, if you're if this is just your one experience with us, I hope you enjoyed it, and we'll be back next week, and we'll start doing voice actors and the fun bits that we do. I'll continue to berate everyone for not knowing Pokemon that I couldn't name if you put a gun to my head. It's good. It's a good time. So thank you, everyone, and then we're gonna move on into Ghost in the Shell.
Episode 1 of Ghost in the Shell Standalone Complex Second Gig is called Re-Embody.
You're not going to introduce the show at all?
Ghost in the Shell Standalone Complex Second Gig is the second season of Ghost in the Shell Standalone Complex, which aired in January 2004, obviously based on Ghost in the Shell, the manga by Masamune Shirow. The show is directed by Kenji Kamiyama, and this is the second season.
Yeah.
I'm very excited. We really like the first season. Austin's seen the show before. We picked this because we knew Austin would be on. Like, Austin, do you want to watch Second Gig? And you were like, yeah.
I was like, yeah. It's probably been 6 years since I last saw Second Gig. 5 or 6 years. But I don't remember it all the way through, which is good.
Jackson, where were we last time we left Section 9?
So, I mean, I was about to say was, so last time we left them, Togusa tried to assassinate a guy, and everyone was like, Lamau, look at this idiot.
That is what happened. He did let him think that all of his friends were dead or arrested until he almost assassinated a politician.
They almost tried to they love protecting the politicians so much that they will try to assassinate them. And that is why the show fucking owns. No, last we left them, there was a whole like internal blow up and power struggle inside the various ministries and the like currently leaving administration that was in crisis. The Section 9 managed to somehow navigate this despite being like disavowed and almost all murdered, managed to escape and survive this reshuffle to now be gets on the plane type. It also worked out fine. Everyone works out for, the classic end of any of these plots, right? Like,
yeah.
Chaos happens and now they're the king shit cops again, working for the new administration. And that sets up the board for this new season and this first episode.
Yeah, which is called
Re-embody. I'm not actually editing that out the first time. It's too funny.
No, it's fine. I don't think you actually got to say it before I interrupted you last time. Is the thing.
Okay.
This is a reactivation, re-embody, because they have once again Japanese titles and then the English title. 2 years have passed since Section 9 came back together. They've regrouped, they reconstruct their headquarters, they're doing special forces shit. However, they are an off-the-books group, and they're all mad about it because the Japanese government hasn't actually signed off on them because they created a bill to say no more super secret cops. And
which means that they have to be even more super secret cops.
Yeah. Yes. But they're mad about it because like someday they're going to need super secret cops, and we're going to be here for them when that happens.
But they've basically just been hanging out watching Twitch streams, occasionally doing like super secret missions. They're so bored.
Just so happens this mission, the Chinese embassy is being stormed by a bunch of terrorists that call themselves Individual 11. The major helpfully tells us that despite the name, there's not 11 members. And they've took a bunch of people hostage, and they demand that the prime minister issue a statement announcing the discontinuation of a refugee special action policy. And there's this entire episode is like 20 minutes of everyone in a van talking about the state of the world, which is honestly all I want out of a show like this. But the refugee special action policy is like a taxpayer redirection of funds for refugees, because in this Ghost Shell universe, Japan is seemingly only one of the few solvent nations that is like has a growing functional economy, and it's because of the super fascism is why.
That's just the world.
Yes. And so they're hanging out waiting to be called in, but Aramaki doesn't want to do it unless they get a go-ahead from the Japanese government to make them real cops again. And he is in a meeting with like a bunch of ministers and the new what is her role? Do you remember what her actual role is? She's the prime minister, right?
She's prime minister. She's the prime minister. Yes.
And he is stymied by the fact that, unlike every other politician in the universe, she seems to know what the hell she's talking about, which makes her suspicious and threatening. But also means she rules as she stands down Aramaki, and they have a big talk. The SWAT team, the normal police, fuck this up by going in early. One of them gets shot. One of them shoots a terrorist. Like, okay, you can go in. You have like 10 minutes. If you manage to do this without killing any of the hostages, we'll reinstate you. And they do. Bateau bursts in, like all in his octo camo, and is just a giant man bulldozing through people. I remember this show is really violent. People just get shot in the head, and their heads explode. Ghost in the Shell happens.
Yeah, there's to rewind just a second, after the SWAT team goes in guns blazing when they shouldn't have. One of my favorite lines is not my actual favorite line of this episode. One of my favorite lines, at least in the dub, dub. I'm watching the dub because it's available on AdultSwim.com, and that's the easiest way for me to get it. The Prime Minister's assistant comes in and says that an unpremeditated gunfight happened. And I don't know if that's what the line was in the subs.
The subs are not dissimilar to that.
It's so fucking tortured. I love it so much. What an absolute nothing phrase. Oh.
The show's a comedy. The show's simply a comedy.
Right, like this is the thing that it gets, lots of cyberpunk stuff is like, hey, in the future it'll be this kind of like libertarian dystopia because corporations will become states and that's it. And this is like, no, the neoliberals aren't going to give up that easy. Yes, companies will have autonomy and sovereignty, but they'll be next to it in alliance with a neoliberal authoritarian superstate.
Yeah.
And like, that state will be hilarious because imagine fucking Paul Buttigieg, Pete Buttigieg tried to manage the fascist super companies in a hostage situation. It would be ludicrous.
Bateau ends up wiping out most of the guys except for one who manages to take a hostage. And as the SWAT team is now burst in, because they're like, wait, there's gunfire. Someone's shooting and it's not us. And they burst in with their cool, automated pile bunker. The normal cops also have sick technology in this universe. But it's not as sick as the Major, who dives out of a helicopter, shoots as she's falling through the window at this one guy, blows him away. And then as they look out the window, she does the Ghost in the Shell 1995 film, waving to them as she turns invisible, falling out of the sky.
And the entire episode is revealed to be an excuse for this one reference shot. It's like, they're so happy to be back. This is so indulgent. God, let's go.
It feels like it's like, yeah, we fucking earned it. We did that whole first season. That season ruled. We get to use this shot now.
Yes. And you know what? They're right. They're fucking right.
That exchange, the moment when the Major shoots that guy, and the dude says, we are known as the Individual 11. Even if we have failed today in our mission, the individual ego shall carry out our collective will. Therefore, the threat of death means nothing to our people. And she goes, you don't say. Well, then go ahead and die. And it's like, there's no interest in what the fuck he's talking about. Yeah. There's no thought that maybe we should bring him in and interrogate him. There's nothing. It's just like, I am a hammer. The state has said that I'm going to drop on you. I don't care what you say. You're dead. And that's Ghost in the Shell.
Yeah. After her quip, his head literally just explodes. Yes. I yelled when I was watching the episode.
It's so sick, especially as it's basically just the Obama then perish meme. Because their disinterest is on another level, right? Because their actual motivation here is to have their jobs back.
Right.
This is nothing to them, but this is going to be one of the main plots of the season going forward. This is individual episodes because standalone and conflict was not ludicrous enough for them, and they just don't care.
Yeah. So the thing that happens, Aramaki's talking to the Prime Minister, and the Major is behind him in her her official uniform, her army out suit or whatever. I don't know what you call this, but it's her pantsuit that she wears every time she has to be professional in front of people who matter. And she's quietly behind the Prime Minister, looks at her, you're the one who led the mission, right? And she doesn't answer. And then in the car, she's like, you were really nice. You were nice to her. Why weren't you talking shit like you do every other politician? And he's like, oh, you see, she knows what she's talking about. It's the scariest thing that could ever happen. And then they pull up to Section 9, who's in the middle of their post, killing all these guys pizza party. And they're like, did we get our jobs back? Yes, you got your jobs back. And in fact, we got a new support, and who walks in but a Tachikoma, seemingly a new model that it introduces itself as a Tachikoma very formally. Bateau is very moved, and then there's a pause, and the Tachikoma's like, I'm just kidding, and it's our friends the Tachikomas with their brains back, and they all waddle in and hug Bateau.
Yeah, everyone cheers. It's so good.
This is I think I sent a message to my friend with Barbosa level pop. It's happening the second that she says, "Oh, we're getting new recruits." When she's in the truck, and they can't have the show. That's Tachicomas. They're like, "Oh, we didn't plan for a second season. Ignore the part where we killed them all. Just ignore it. They're fine. Then we just restored their brains. These were the ones at the factory that we didn't murder. They're fine. Just everyone's back. Bateau's psyched."
The Prime Minister says, I truly appreciate your outstanding work in this incident. Everyone cheers. The fascist cops are back.
Yeah, the thing I like about this is they only took the Tachikomas from them because Section 9 was on the outs and doing shit. The minute that they're reinstated in a new, what I want, new government, they just get all their dangerous robots back. It doesn't matter that they're dangerous. What matters is that they were like disapproving of the group that had the dangerous robots in the first place.
Yep. That's all it is.
It's so good.
Is that the reason we like this show so much? Is because it's so brutally honest about the conditions of reality?
Yes,
absolutely.
This is like the peak like real politics cyberpunk show to me, because I wouldn't describe it as necessarily like having a like leftist perspective all the time.
No,
definitely not.
But it is very honest about the like way that this like all these things like actually interact as like forces. And it's just very enjoyable.
The thing I like is there's a bit in the when they're all in the van sitting there and they're just talking about the situation, and Togus is like, yeah, we all hate paying taxes, but like you probably shouldn't do a terrorism about paying taxes to the wrong thing. Instead, you should just be mad and be the cops and go shoot people.
I love that scene because it's like they don't like these people will like shoot people at a moment's notice, right? They are the fascist cops, but they're not politically unengaged or like super brainwashed, like, yeah, we're just gonna shoot people. Like, they don't like shoot people because they love it. I mean, they do, right? But like, it's a different framing.
They get it removed because they have the agency to do things outside of the way people operate in politics. Like they are affected by the choices made, but also they believe, and it's true in the text of the show, that if they get mad enough, they can just go overthrow the government because they already did that once.
Yeah.
But they don't like care to, right? They're not even if they often and usually like really hate the government and everything it's doing, they believe in protecting it in a way that's really honest, and like a lot of shows will frustratingly leave that as like implied subtext of, no, we can't overthrow the status quo or whatever. But this isn't that. This is like, no, they believe in it. This is the one thing they do believe in.
But also in like a sense of like, it's really convenient where we have a steady paycheck and someone telling us who to shoot and don't have to fill out paperwork about overthrowing the government, right?
Yeah.
Like there's a bit where they're talking about the new recruits and Togus is like, I hope they're not too bad at new recruits. It's really hard to do this job. Not everyone can do it. And everyone laughs because Togus is the baby who hated his job last season.
The idea of Togus is saying, not everyone can do what we do. And everyone's like, we left you alone for 3 minutes and you tried to assassinate a guy.
Oh, God. I think like part of that too. The other thing there that's interesting is that like Togusa gets left alone partially because he's the one member of Section 9 at the end of Season 1 that can theoretically reintegrate into that society that they have protected, right?
Yes.
The rest of them have been so firmly shaped into tools of the government, tools of the state, weapons of the state, that is the only existence that they can even imagine for themselves anymore, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, that's like the whole arc of the Major in the first season, right? Is that like, she doesn't own that body. You know, that body's very expensive, and the only thing that's going to pay for it is this authoritarian state that she belongs to.
Yeah.
And I think that stuff is always super interesting because it is very much that like, you're caught up in the system that has fucked you over, and you cannot, not only can you not see a way past it, you're not even necessarily invested in, you're mostly invested in shutting down other people who might suggest seeing a way past it.
Yes. Especially as like, the first thing the Major ever says is like, oh, you hate the world, well, just change it while I'm like the cop shooting you in the back. And that has never swayed from like telling people that while being the biggest impediment to that possible.
Right.
And it's it's just cool. And the characters are good. I like everyone. I know there's like people get frustrated by the show being like the cool hangout show about the cops, but I feel like this show understands that it is the fact that they are likable that makes it work. If they were all just like assholes who liked shooting people, there wouldn't be any critique or any like anything interesting to dive into. It's the fact that these are like, Bateau's my boyfriend that makes the part where the thing he does that is cool is hang out with his super robots who are all children who kill people.
But also does that as the thing he did after he was tired of being in the war, right? Like he did war crimes, felt bad about it, and decided to be a cop because it was easier.
God.
He did the reverse psychopaths.
Anyway.
When will my super cop boyfriends meet?
In my fanfic.
Oh, right.
Is that everything?
Yeah, but I would like to commission a Psycho-Pass Ghost in the Shell crossover episode.
Please.
That'd be great. Next week, we're going to be covering 2 episodes of this show, so episodes 2 and 3.
Yes.
Our schedule's going to be a little weird. I know that we have an episode coming up where we're probably not going to do Ghost in the Shell because we're going to have to do Gundam midweek, so we'll let you know as we record these episodes.
Yeah, there are 39 episodes of Ghost in the Shell. There are 27, I guess, of Standalone Complex.
Yeah, we have a little fun here, but we're going to take it.
Yeah.
So we will schedule. Very likely that it'll hit like week 12. No, we got to do 2 every time now.
Well, no, we have 5 weeks we can do nothing in, I think.
Okay, well, we'll see how we manage it. But that's
and we're going to be watching this. And we're going to be watching the movie.
Yes,
Sick.
that's why I said 27.
Okay. Cool.
Yes. All right, we did it. Podcast.
We did it. That's an episode.
Yeah. Thanks
Nice and
everybody
short.
for listening.
Yeah. All right. Thank everyone.
We got to say the word.
Well, before that, where can everyone find each other on the internet? This is a free episode.
Fine, right. Now you get to yell at me.
Yeah, that's right. Flipping it on you.
I'll go first. You can find me at em_being on Twitter. You can find all of our podcasts at abnormalmapping.com that me and Jackson do, and we host a bunch. Great shows there. Please go check them out. The one that we have done the longest is Abnormal Mapping. It's a game club. We are wrapping up Suikoden. That's going to be out in a couple weeks.
Oh,
the end of the month.
damn. That rules. I'm excited to hear your thoughts on that.
Yeah, we just did a Shinobi PS2 episode that I think was a really good episode.
I'm really proud of that episode. Yeah. Obviously, if you want to listen to this podcast, you can support us at patreon.com/abnormalmapping. For $1 a month, you can get Great Gundam Project. For $10, you can get VoIP Life if you really want it, which is just more podcasts.
That's
You
a very
should.
goofy
VoIP
show.
Life is so fun. Yeah.
We recently ranked all of the Sentai suits, despite I've never seen Sentai. Jackson's only seen 1 season of Sentai, so we did rank them all, though.
Yeah, but those ones suits that are obviously the best. They are so obviously the best.
Yeah, they really are clearly the best. It's good. You're on Twitter at Headfallsoff.
Yes. Austin, where are you? This is a really shoddy plug zone.
Austin_Walker. You can also listen to Friends of the Table, Friends_Table on Twitter, friendsoftheTable.net. And then, which is an actual play podcast. We are literally wrapping up. We finished principal recording of Partisan, our giant mech, war season that we've just done, playing a game called Beam Saber by Austin Ramsey. It's been a really fun season, and we'll be wrapping up in the next 6 weeks or so. So if you want to catch up, now is a good time to go listen to that. And then obviously, I do a game podcast called Waypoint Radio, which you can find Waypoint Radio if you do a search, and that's it. That's it.
All right. Well, thank you, everyone. We'll see you next time. Amaro.
Can I find the words to tell you how I live between the walls of steel and stone? How I close my eyes to find some kind of rapture in a world where you can feel so all alone. Inside I'm full of light and laughter. There's a flame that burns in me. Need a way to set it free. When you find love in your heart, you can believe from the start. Dreams, they come true. It all comes to you all at once. If you believe human touch. I see a wanting in your eyes, and I wonder, will I always think of you? Do we simply find ourselves awakening as angels touch the heartstrings of our soul? We can find nothing is real except for love. If you believe in human time, if you believe in human